Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the Daredevil model by Wicked. Before we get started, roll those credits and a word from our sponsor. PCBWay are proud sponsors of the channel. They offer industry-leading 3D printing services covering all types of materials and processes. They also offer industry-leading online CNC machine services from milling, machining, and turning in all the materials you could possibly need. They also offer a fully online prototyping PCB service. Everything from assembly through to design, you can do it all online with an easy system to use for quality. So for all of your needs, check out PCBWay in the link in the video description. So, we've reached it. The pinnacle of things that can stress me out. A cantilevered model with multiple large parts that for some reason I decided to do almost entirely in resin. It was a terrible idea from start to finish. This model is, I've gone 200% the original size, and the original size was already large. So, this was all done on the Phrozen Mega 8K. Because of its size, we really would not have been able to have done this on any other machine, right? The Mega 8K is pretty much the only machine that we could have fitted this on. There's some new machines that we've got in to test. Those machines we could have fitted them on as well, but those weren't ready, and this project has been going on for months. The Mega 8K has absolutely been a workhorse in doing this. It's about 48 parts all in. Some of those parts are absolutely giant. I will say that some of these parts here are actually FDM. So everything that's rock and everything that's wood at the bottom, that's all FDM. And the reason for that, pure and simple, was space, build volume, and strength. When we get to the models themselves, let's do an elongated, because there's a lot to cover in this, 360 of this model, so you can get an impression of what we need to talk about here. So, There's a lot to go over, right? So first of all, let's start with the stained glass. So the stained glass is done in Ceratex crystal clear resin. Them and Monocore are currently the only providers we've been able to find that are able to produce clear afterprint parts. So almost all clear resins print clear when they're on the printer, but as soon as you've washed them and cured them, they go super cloudy or they go yellow or whatever. These didn't do that. And I then had to use inks to keep the translucent colour, but try to give them that look of sort of stained glass. I'm really happy with how the blues and the yellows came out. They came out really nice. I do not like the way the whites came out, but we are where we are, and this model genuinely nearly broke me. We then come on to the main characters. So obviously Kingpin and Daredevil. These characters are complicated for a lot of reasons. So we picked Photocentric's hobby grade resin. There's an affiliate link in the video description if you want to go and check theirs out. Because we needed a degree of strength as well as high quality, as well as a sort of a really good all-round resin. These models, they were so complicated to do in resin for so many reasons. So obviously they're not solid, they are hollowed. These are all done at 1.8 millimeter thick walls. 1.8 millimeters was not thick enough, bearing in mind the size of the model. I should have done them at least 2, if not a little bit thicker than that. The torso was too big to even go on the Mega on its own, so I had to split that into 4 parts, and that's where my troubles started. So this, you can see from the models of Kingpin that he's not standing upright, he's standing leaned back, which means his center of gravity is behind where his legs can support him. And you've also then got Daredevil, which is cantilevered off of his face. There's a key that goes into, that comes out of Kingpin's head that goes into Daredevil's knee, and then his other thigh sort of rests on his chest. The cables, also a nightmare. So they printed okay, but they provide no structural support or like they don't hold the model together. That they're actually really fragile. His cane, again, really difficult to print. I did get a little 25mm pirate gem off of Amazon, and that fitted perfectly in the end of his cane. This was a really difficult model to do this size. It was never designed to be scaled up like this, and it would have been much easier if it was half the size that it is now, because there would have been half the weight on all those joints. I would have been able to have done the torso as one piece, and I wouldn't have had to have cut things up, which created stresses and cracks and different things that I had to then try and fill and place and put together. He's almost impossible to move. It takes 2 of us to move him. He weighs 36 kilos all in, between the resin parts and the FDM parts. It was incredibly difficult to get all of him together, to get him this size, to get the effects that I wanted. I think this sort of marks the last time we're going to really blow up a model this big. Apart from just the logistics of being able to move him around, or the genuine cost of making him, which is somewhere in the region of £300 worth of material. There's also just the practicality of now storing him and the mechanical issues that you get as a result of making something this big. All of the stonework, as I said before, is done in FDM, and it's all done on the Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon. Paint-wise, it is a stone effect spray paint from Plasticoat. It's a really quick, easy way to get a texture on something that felt a little flat. So this would have been really quite smooth stonework, and I really don't like smooth stonework when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's pretty much texture in a can. You rattle it on, and comes in a spray can. Goes on really well. Gives a really nice effect. Hides a few sins. So especially hides layer lines, or especially hides joins. Does a really good job of that because it's such a high particulate in it that it sort of covers those gaps really nicely. But yeah, I mean, he's a huge model, guys, and I really do love the fact that he's finished. I'd be lying if I said I was genuinely happy with the way he'd gone together or the way that his paint job came out. He was really, really challenging, and he wasn't meant to be this size. The model wasn't designed to be this size, and it wasn't supposed to all be in resin either. I could have just done heads and hands and probably Daredevil in resin, and then done Kingpin in FDM, and I would have got a really similar quality result, but I would have had a mechanically stronger print. You know, he would have stood up on his own, and he wouldn't have required sort of extra work. We had to put a threaded rod through his neck all the way down into the bottom of his foot, and then epoxy resin that together so that there was some sort of so basically his middle of his torso kept trying to pop out. So that threaded rod going all the way through is what's pretty much keeping him all together. It was a real nightmare, and this does kind of mark a move away from models of this size for a while. We've obviously done Ecto 1 recently. We've got this guy. We've had Big Gandalf and Giant Thanos and Big Sauron and things like that. They're really cool models to do, but they become a real challenge after a point, especially when you're doing things in sizes they were never supposed to be done in. So, so we're still going to be doing big models, but we're not going to be going to this kind of scale and this kind of size. We're going to be keeping them sort of a bit more manageable so they'll actually fit on shelves, and that we can actually spend a bit more time focusing on the paint details rather than just focusing on the mechanics of how these things go together. The model itself is from Wicked 3D. Wicked 3D run an amazing Patreon. A large amount of the models we've been doing recently have been Wicked, and it's because when you scale them, they keep so much detail. There's little things in this, like the creases in his hands or the creases in his shoes where he would have been walking, the way that the fabric falls when they're doing the models. They are doing such an amazing job across Wicked and Berserk, and then they've also got their Star Wars Patreon as well, like our Green Goblin model, Osriel, Thanos. I've done another model recently. I've done a Doctor Doom. There's loads of their models that we've done. They're really detailed and they're really good, and I really like doing them. Just don't think I'll be doing them on this scale, quite this big again. So that's the video. Feel free to go back and have a look around and sort of scrub around the video to see where we've done certain things. Really, really complicated model. A lot of different techniques that we tried to do to go into this. I'd be lying if I said I was 1000% happy with how it came out, but I am 1000% happy that it's finished. I am glad that it's done and that it can go on a shelf now, and I haven't got to worry about moving it around or trying to touch up pieces or how I'm going to fix certain bits and bobs. So thanks very much for joining us, guys, and I'll catch us on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next one.